10 years from now, you will either look back and thank yourself, or you will still be wondering where it all went. In 2026, the average American carries $6,715 in credit card debt. The personal savings rate just dropped to 3%, less than half the historical average, and total consumer debt, $18.8 trillion. But here is what most people do not realize. Somewhere in your neighborhood, there is someone who earns less than you, and they are building more wealth than you will ever see. They are following rules that are over 100 years old, rules that most people have forgotten, or worse, rules they have never been told exist. By the end of this video, you will understand exactly what those rules are, and why 2026 might be the most important year to start following them. Deep inside a mountain in Norway, there is a vault. It holds over 1 million seed samples from nearly every country on Earth. It exists for one reason: to preserve what matters most, not for today, but for generations we will never meet. Old money families figured this out centuries ago, not the preservation of seeds, but the preservation of wealth through a set of invisible rules. Rules that have nothing to do with earning more, and everything to do with keeping what you have. I call this the seed vault principle, and it works in 3 parts. The third part is the one that changes everything, and it is the one almost nobody talks about. Here is a number that should make you pause. 86% of luxury cars on the road right now are owned by people who are not millionaires. Meanwhile, 64% of actual millionaires drive cars that are more than 3 years old. The most popular car brand among millionaires, Toyota. Think about that for a second. The people who can afford the most spend the least on looking wealthy, and the people spending the most on appearance often cannot afford to. Thomas Stanley spent 20 years studying this. His research across thousands of American millionaires found that 94% live below their means. Half of them have never spent more than $400 on a suit. And here is the quiet part. Income only explains about 30% of the variation in wealth. What you keep matters 3 times more than what you earn. Ryan learned this the hard way. At 34, he was making $95,000 a year as a civil engineer in Hartford. Good salary, nice apartment, new lease on a BMW every 3 years. And every single month, he ended up exactly where he started, wondering where the money went. Then his colleague David got laid off. No warning, no severance, and David had nothing saved. That is when Ryan realized something uncomfortable. He was 1 bad month away from the same story, so he made a change. Not dramatic, quiet. He bought a used Honda, started cooking at home 4 nights a week, put the difference, about $1,400 a month, into an index fund. In 3 years, he had saved more than in the previous 10 combined. The second old money rule might sound strange at first. Never buy anything that buys you attention. Only buy what buys you time. Here is what that looks like in actual numbers. In 2026, the average American household spends roughly $3,200 a year on subscription services, fast fashion, and impulse purchases, things that depreciate to zero within months. That same $3,200, invested consistently at a 7% average return, becomes $45,000 in 10 years. And over 30 years, nearly $320,000. Old money families understood a concept that modern behavioral economics calls opportunity cost blindness. Every dollar spent on something temporary is a dollar that cannot compound for decades. Margaret is 64. She retired from the Savannah Public Library system 3 years ago. She never earned more than $62,000 in any year of her career, but she is worth $1.4 million. Unlike Ryan earlier, Margaret never had a BMW moment. Her parents, children of school teachers, raised her with a single phrase, "We buy what lasts." She bought her home in 1994 for $87,000. She still lives there. She maxed her 403B every year from age 28 onward. She has no car payment, no credit card balance, and no desire to prove anything to anyone. The interesting thing, Margaret does not think of herself as wealthy, she just thinks of herself as done worrying. Here is where it gets counterintuitive. The Williams Group spent 20 years studying over 3,200 wealthy families. What they found is striking. 70% of families lose their wealth by the second generation, and 90% lose it by the third. The number one reason was not bad investments. It was not taxes. 60% of the time, it was communication breakdowns. Families who never talked about money, values, or what wealth actually means. And this connects to something happening right now. A $124 trillion wealth transfer is unfolding over the next 25 years. It is the largest generational money movement in American history. By 2034, annual transfer activity will peak near $6.1 trillion per year. But here is the paradox most people miss. The families who keep wealth are not the ones who display it. They are the ones who treat it as invisible. They build what sociologist Pierre Bourdieu called cultural capital, shared habits, values, and knowledge that cannot be repossessed or inflated away. Old money does not put wealth on the wall. They put it in the floor, in the foundation, in the way they raise their children to think about enough. When was the last time you had a real conversation about money? Not what to buy, but what money actually means to your family. If you are finding this helpful, consider subscribing. We share one quiet insight about financial stability every week. The third rule brings it all together. In 2026, baby boomers still control 51.6% of all U.S. household wealth, roughly $78 trillion. The top 10% of households hold 67% of total wealth. And the bottom 50%, they hold just 2.5%. But here is the number that matters most. 24% of American adults have zero emergency savings, none, and only 46% could cover 3 months of expenses. The old money rule is not about getting into the top 10%. It is about never being in that 24%. Ryan does not track the S&P 500 every day anymore. He tracks something simpler. His runway. How many months could he survive without a paycheck? When he started, the answer was 1. Maybe. Now it is 14 and growing. He calls it his vault, not a savings account, not a portfolio, a vault. Because vaults are built to protect, not to show off. Margaret taught him that, actually, through a library book group, of all places. She had said something one evening that Ryan wrote down and keeps on his bathroom mirror. The richest people I have ever known are the ones nobody knows are rich. If you are sitting here right now with a runway of 1 month or less, you are not behind. You are just at the beginning. Every vault starts with 1 deposit. So here is what following old money rules in 2026 actually looks like. It does not look like a mansion or a sports car or a viral flex on social media. It looks like a Tuesday night where you check your accounts and feel nothing. No anxiety, no panic, just quiet. Tonight, just tonight, open your bank statement and calculate your runway. How many months could you survive if everything stopped tomorrow? Write that number down. That is your starting point. That is the first brick in your vault. If someone you care about is caught in the cycle of earning and spending without building, share this with them, not as a lecture, just as a conversation starter. Next week, we are going to talk about something closely related, the difference between people who look wealthy and people who actually are. It is more different than you think. Remember, 10 years from now, you will either look back and thank yourself. The vault is waiting. You just have to start filling it.